Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a film that's got a little bit of everything. History, adventure, fantasy, and even some good laughs. It's The Extraordinary Adventures of Adèle Blanc-Sec.
Ah, yes. Adèle Blanc-Sec. This film is a real gem. A 2010 French film, based on a comic series.
Okay, so picture this. Paris, 1911. But instead of just beautiful architecture and bustling streets, you've got mummies running amok, ancient curses coming to life, and even a pterosaur soaring over the Eiffel Tower.
And at the heart of it all, Adèle Blanc-Sec. She's a journalist, a treasure hunter, a bit of a rogue, definitely not your typical heroine.
That's what makes her so great. She's smart, she's resourceful, she's got a quick wit.
And she doesn't hesitate to take on any challenge, especially when it comes to saving her sister.
Right, her sister's in a coma, and Adèle is willing to go to some pretty extreme lengths to bring her back.
It raises those questions about how far we'd go for the people we love, what sacrifices would we make.
And that's just one layer of this film. You've got the historical setting of early 20th century Paris, but then you've got these fantastical elements thrown into the mix, like that pterosaur. Talk about a visual spectacle.
Absolutely. It's this wild, almost surreal image. And it really speaks to the film's theme of the extraordinary disrupting the ordinary.
And the way director Luc Besson brings it all to life. He's known for his visual style, and you really see it here. The action sequences, the cinematography, it all feels very much like a live-action comic book.
It has that vibrant energy, that sense of movement, and those bold color choices. It definitely adds to the film's overall sense of whimsy.
Whimsy, but also a bit of darkness lurking beneath the surface. I mean, Adèle's dealing with some pretty serious stuff, even with all the humor and adventure.
Oh, definitely. The film doesn't shy away from the potential consequences of her actions. There's this underlying tension between good intentions and the potential for things to go very wrong.
Like a cautionary tale woven into this fantastical adventure.
Exactly. And that makes it even more compelling because it forces us to think about the choices we make and how they might ripple outward.
Speaking of choices, let's talk about the actors who brought these characters to life. Louise Bourgoin as Adèle. She's fantastic. So much wit and charm.
Oh, she's brilliant. She completely embodies that spirit of independence and determination that makes Adèle so unique.
And Mathieu Amalric as the villainous Professor Dilvo. Almost unrecognizable he is. He's got this over-the-top menace about him that's just perfect for the role.
They both have such range as actors. Bourgoin, you may have seen her in Black Heaven. That one delves into the dark side of virtual reality. And Amalric, his performance in The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, haunting. Absolutely haunting.
And of course, he was a Bond villain. Quantum of Solace, that icy stare.
Two incredibly talented actors bringing such depth to their roles in Adèle Blanc-Sec. It's another layer that makes this film so special.
So for anyone out there who enjoys a good blend of history, fantasy, and a dash of humor, what other films would you recommend? Think along the lines of Adèle Blanc-Sec.
Well, if you're looking for that classic adventure feel with a mix of humor and action, I'd say The Mummy, the 1999 version.
Oh, that's a good one. And what about for those who love that archaeological adventure aspect, maybe with a bit of supernatural intrigue?
You can't go wrong with Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the gold standard. And then maybe something a little different, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's got that historical setting, magical creatures, a touch of whimsy.
They all share that sense of wonder and adventure, the feeling that anything is possible.
And isn't that what draws us to these kinds of stories in the first place? The idea that there's still magic to be found in the world.
Well said.
It's like Adèle represents that spirit of pushing boundaries, Like, think about the early 20th century. It was a time of massive change. Technology, society, everything was evolving rapidly.
Right. It was the dawn of a new era. And in a way, Adèle embodies that sense of progress, of challenging the old ways of thinking, kind of like the suffragette movement that was gaining traction at the time.
Exactly. And there's that tension between tradition and modernity playing out throughout the film. Like, you've got this backdrop of elegant Paris, but then these chaotic, fantastical events unfolding.
Yeah, it's almost like the film is using the supernatural to highlight the cracks in society's facade. That things aren't always as perfect or as straightforward as they seem.
Absolutely. And that makes you think, doesn't it, about what's really going on beneath the surface, both in the film and maybe even in our own lives.
It's a good reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to find the truth. And that kind of ties back to Adèle's quest to save her sister, right? This idea of uncovering what's hidden, of fighting for what matters most.
Exactly. And speaking of her sister, that relationship is really at the heart of the film. The lengths Adèle goes to, the sacrifices she's willing to make.
It makes you wonder, how far would any of us go for the people we love? Would we risk everything? Cross certain lines?
It's a question the film asks but doesn't necessarily answer. It leaves you pondering, reflecting on your own values.
It's thought-provoking stuff, for sure, but it's also presented in a way that's entertaining and engaging. That's the beauty of it.
Right, that balance between light and dark, adventure and introspection, it's masterfully done.
And speaking of masterful, the visuals in this film are something else. We've talked about the colors, the action sequences, but did you notice the recurring motif of clocks and timepieces?
Oh, yeah. Time plays such a crucial role, not just in the literal sense, like the ticking clock of Adèle's sister's coma, but also in a more symbolic way.
Right, like how the resurrection of the mummy involves manipulating time itself.
It challenges our perception of time as linear. Like maybe it can be bent, broken, rewritten under the right circumstances.
It definitely adds to that sense of the supernatural, the blurring of reality.
Exactly. And that ties into the film's overall exploration of the unknown, the things that defy logic and explanation.
It makes you wonder what else might be out there beyond our understanding.
And it does so with a touch of humor, which makes it all the more enjoyable.
Right. You're exploring these deep existential themes, but you're also having a good time doing it. It's a great balance.
And speaking of balance, I love how Besson uses color in this film. Like we talked about those bold choices earlier, but there's a particular emphasis on the color red. Did you catch that?
Oh, for sure. Now that you mention it, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Adèle's coat, the flashes in the Egyptian tomb, even some of the lighting choices.
It's subtle, but it's definitely there. And red, of course, is so symbolic. It represents danger, passion, power.
So it's not just an aesthetic choice. It's adding another layer of meaning to the visuals.
Exactly. It's highlighting key themes and emotions, drawing your eye to important details. It's brilliant, really.
It's those little touches that make a film truly memorable. Like you discover something new every time you watch it.
And Adèle Blanc-Sec is definitely a film that rewards multiple viewings. There's so much depth to uncover.
Speaking of uncovering, I think it's time we address the elephant in the room, the ending. Now, without giving anything away for those who haven't seen it, what are your thoughts on how Adèle's quest wraps up?
Well, it's definitely a satisfying ending, but it also leaves you with a lot to think about. There's a certain ambiguity to it.
How so?
Well, without spoiling anything, let's just say it reinforces the idea that life is rarely black and white. There are always shades of gray, unanswered questions, consequences that ripple outwards.
It's not a simple happily ever after, though.
Not exactly, but it's also not a tragedy. It's more nuanced than that. It's about accepting the uncertainties, finding peace amidst the chaos.
It sounds like it aligns with the film's overall theme of embracing the unexpected.
Absolutely. It's about finding beauty and meaning in the journey, even when things don't go according to plan.
So it's not about arriving at a perfect solution or having all the answers. It's about navigating the complexities of life, embracing the messiness.
Exactly. And doing so with a sense of resilience, with humor. Adèle never loses that spark, that ability to find a bit of light in even the darkest situations.
She reminds us that even when facing serious challenges, we don't have to lose our sense of joy or our ability to laugh at the absurdity of it all.
It's like a little rebellion against the weight of the world, saying, yes, things might be tough, but I'm not going to let that crush my spirit.
And that's inspiring, isn't it? That spirit of defiance, that refusal to be defeated.
It is. Adèle shows us that we can be strong and resilient, but also playful and lighthearted, that those qualities aren't mutually exclusive.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to fit into a box. We can embrace all facets of ourselves, the serious and the silly.
Absolutely. And in a world that often pressures us to conform, to be a certain way, Adèle stands out. She's a beacon of individuality, a reminder that it's okay to be different, to be yourself.
And that's what makes The Extraordinary Adventures of Adèle Blanc-Sec such joy to watch. It's a celebration of uniqueness, of embracing the unexpected. It's an escape from the ordinary, a reminder that magic can be found in the most surprising places.
And that we all have the potential for a little bit of extraordinary within ourselves. It's just a matter of finding it.
Well said. If you're looking for a film that will transport you, make you think, and leave you with a smile on your face, I highly recommend giving Adèle Blanc-Sec a watch.
You won't regret it. It's a wild, whimsical, unforgettable ride.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the extraordinary adventures of Adèle Blanc-Sec. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop seeking out the extraordinary in your own lives.